Hi, seventh graders. This is Mrs. Arietta recording your day 4 video, and this one is a lot of content, so bear with me. I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as I can without overwhelming you. So, according to the packet, it says that you need to, of course, do independent reading, read a book or article of your choice, and complete the reading log. You need to write a 1-paragraph reflection, more or less. Then it needs you to read an excerpt from Chapter 1 of the book Brian's Return by Gary Paulson. For writing, you're supposed to start your rough draft of your explanatory article. So that involves rereading the prompt and starting that rough draft. And finally, there are some reflection questions about Brian's return. So let's go ahead and look at what we've got first. Oh, yes. So this is the prompt that we were given earlier this week that has to do with the invasive plant species. So the science club in your school wants to help students and teachers better understand invasive plant species that have recently appeared on your campus. The science club has asked you to help them with their research on this topic. Using more than one source, develop a thesis or controlling idea about an invasive plant species. Once you have a thesis or controlling idea, select the most relevant information from more than one source to support your thesis. Then, write a multi-paragraph explanatory article explaining your thesis. Clearly organize your article and elaborate on your ideas. Develop your ideas and use your own words, except when quoting directly from the sources. Be sure to reference the source title or number when quoting or paraphrasing details or facts from the sources. You should already have your thesis statement because we started it in the last video. Now we're going to move into what you need to write in order to get your rough draft done. So the first thing that I recommend you do is organize your ideas. You've probably come up with the most important facts by now of what there is to know about these invasive plant species. So whatever you put as your thesis statement, you're going to put that at the top of a giant T chart. So you're going to write the thesis statement and then draw a line on your paper or whatever you're using to organize your thoughts. The T should be slightly smaller on the left side and larger on the right side. And each of the stars, the big ideas that will be topic sentences for your body paragraphs, it should be one important fact that supports the thesis statement that you're trying to make. On the right side of the T chart, you should have bars that indicate the smaller things, the evidence, the explanation, the details that support that fact and connect it to your thesis statement. All of these bullet points, stars and bars, should be no more than like 5 words each. It really should not be that long. You're not writing out the whole essay on the organizer. You're getting your thoughts out on paper. So look over the notes that you've taken based on sources 1 through 3 previously. Go ahead and make sure you know the 3 most important facts and lay out all of the information in an organizer like this. Pause this video if you have not done this yet. Have you finished your organizer? Good. The first thing you need to do for your explanatory essay is write an introduction. The first thing you should include is a hook. That means that you're fishing and the audience is the fish. You need to hook them in and pull them in so that they want more of your essay. An essay about these plants might require statistics or quotes or questions or something surprising that's going to grab the audience's attention. And you should be creative for this. This is your chance to really show off your creative writing skills because you want this essay about plants to sound like the most interesting thing we're going to read all day. You want to be expressive and creative. The next thing you need to do is explain the situation and the question at hand. The school is facing a huge problem. There are invasive plants. What is an invasive plant? Define what that means. And what are some of the characteristics? What does it mean to be an invasive plant? And what do we usually see? Then at the end of your introductory paragraph, you should include your thesis statement. The whole thing should be about 5 sentences, 1 or 2 sentences for the hook, 2 to 3 sentences for your background, and then your 1-sentence thesis statement. Go ahead and pause this video so you can write your introduction. Have you finished it? Good. Moving on to the body paragraphs. Now, this process, you're going to have to do it 2 to 3 times. Each time you go through these 5 steps, that's 1 body paragraph, and you want to try to have 2 to 3 body paragraphs. So those facts that you found out about the invasive plant species, the ones that you made the stars on your stars and bars chart, those are the ones that are going to be the topic sentences. We also call them the reasons for argumentative essays, which we just did. So if you look back or you think back to the notes we took before we wrote our last essay, the stars of the organizer are the big picture ideas. One clear fact about the dangers of invasive plant species, one clear reason why they are a real problem. Then that's when you throw in one piece of evidence. So you're going to pick a quote or an example from the sources that supports your fact, cite that source either directly or indirectly, and make sure you include which source it came from. I've provided an example right here. This is how it can look. It doesn't have to have the author's last name and page number because that's not going to work with this packet. Then the third sentence that you need is an explanation. Assume that your audience does not see the connection between the quote that you chose and the fact you're trying to prove. Explain to the audience why your quote works and what it is proving about these invasive plants. Then you're going to do steps 2 and 3 again. You're going to find a second quote or example that supports the same fact, and then you need to connect it. Sometimes the explanation is also called a bridge. You can picture the explanation or bridge being a sentence that ties the topic and the evidence together. So pause this video if you have not written your body paragraphs. Go ahead and get to work on that. Are you done with your body paragraphs? Great. You only have 1 paragraph left to write. The last paragraph is a conclusion. So you need to restate your thesis statement. Take it and make it sound brand new. Mix it up. Change how it's phrased. Get at the source and find some new words. But you want it to be the same idea, just presented in a new way. Then you need a summary of the key points. For each body paragraph that you wrote, 2 or 3, doesn't matter, dedicate 1 sentence per body paragraph explaining what you've gone over. Be careful here. Do not talk about your writing. Don't say, I have said this, I have said that. In my paragraphs, I mentioned this. Don't refer to yourself. Don't write about your writing. Just restate the facts in a new sentence and summarize everything you said in that paragraph into 1 short sentence. Last thing you need is leave the reader thinking type of ending. End with a quote or a question or a call to action. Say that the students of the school have a responsibility to stop this invasive plant species from taking over the campus. End with some comment that makes the essay sound strong. There's an expression that says, end with a bang. You should end with a bang, not a fizzle. So go ahead and pause this video if you want a chance to write your conclusion. I'm moving on to the next section, which is all about Brian's Return by Gary Paulsen. So I'm assuming if you're at this point of the video, you already have your rough draft done. You could watch this section without having a rough draft, but I feel like getting the rough draft out of the way is more important than doing this section. This section can wait. So there are 3 pages from Brian's Return by Gary Paulsen. You need to read it independently, but as you do, have a highlighter or a pen or pencil out, and you need to annotate the text as you go. I've already looked ahead at the questions. You can look ahead at the questions too. But if I was you and I was reading through with the intention of looking for question answers, you should be looking for tone. What is the feeling associated with this passage? Write feelings in the margins. How does that paragraph or sentence or word make you feel? How does the author feel? Author's voice. So make notes about how the author is choosing to present the information, how they are choosing to word things. And take note of any words with a strong connotation. Connotation means that a word invokes a feeling, either strongly positive or strongly negative. Just like the word house is neutral, cottage is positive, and shack is negative. So look for words that have a strong connotation in either direction. Then you should also take a note of sensory details. Take notes of things that we could hear, see, taste, touch, or smell. And then lastly, always be on the lookout for figurative language. So that's similes, metaphors, personifications, hyperbole, idiom, any figurative language, anything that is not meant to be taken literally. Take a note of that. When you are finished with independently reading Brian's Return, go ahead and resume this video, but I'm going to give you a chance to hit pause now and read the passage. I'm hoping you're done. So there are 2 short response questions in response to Brian's return. For each of these questions, you should try to write an ACE paragraph. ACE paragraphs have a minimum of 3 sentences to get your point across effectively. The first sentence is A for answer. Answer the question clearly and precisely by restating part of the question in your claim. So reword the question and make it a sentence that answers very clearly. The next sentence should be a citation, so cite specific parts of the text, either directly, like a quote, or indirectly, using paraphrasing, putting it in your own words, but it's still more or less exactly what it says in the story. At the end of it, you would put the author's last name, like that example there, and then a page number. Your page numbers for this one are numbered. There's page 1, page 2, and page 3. The author's last name for this one is Paulson. The last sentence of your ACE paragraph is the explain. So explain how the quote proves your claim, elaborating on your point and tying everything together. I have actually prepped for you some sentence starters that you could use for each part of your ACE paragraph. So I have 3 bullet points for each of the 2 questions. The first one is all about Brian's emotional state. So I took the question and I kind of restated it in a new way. I said, Brian's emotional state in this part of the book is, and then you fill in the blank. That would be your answer. An example of Brian's emotions is when, and then you can either quote or paraphrase, but that's your citation. And then your explanation would be, we know that Brian is, insert emotion here, because the author used words like, and then you can fill in the blank. Or you could say, we know that Brian is blank emotion because the connotations of some words were blank, or the word blank was. Really, this part is kind of up to you. You need to tie the connotations and the tone and the author's word choice to Brian's emotions. That's what the explanation is really going to have to be here. The second question is all about sensory details, and you're going to have to try to find 3 examples of strong sensory details. So you could start that answer with some examples of sensory details was when, and then list 3 moments in the story. The next sentence, your citation, you should say in the text the author wrote, and put some quotes in of those sensory details. This one might turn into more than 3 sentences because you might want to include multiple citations. The last sentence could be something about these sensory details are significant for Brian's experience returning to the wilderness because. Why are these sensory experiences significant for Brian and his return to the wilderness? You need to explain why they were included, why they matter. So I believe that is everything that I have for today. Sorry this one was so long. This was a longer section of the packet. Tomorrow I'll talk about revising your essay and getting your final draft out on paper. And that's it. So have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.